This Thrive Loud episode is brought to you by Hinge Consulting. Success on Amazon hinges on well-executed strategies. Contact Hinge Consulting to learn about total Amazon channel management and to see if your business has what it takes to grow over 300% over the next 12 months. That's Hinge Consulting at hingeconsulting.co.
I am not kidding when I say there is nothing better than spending a day at the beach. Listening to the sounds of the ocean, the wind blowing through my hair, the sweet smell of seawater. I could stay here for the rest of my life. Couldn't you? Thrive Loud listeners, it is summer and we are ready to thrive. So break out your sunnies and SPF 30, hit the grill, the beach, the pool, the boat. And while you're doing all of this, be sure you are cranking up Thrive Loud. This summer is packed full with 3 to 4 episodes a week, lots of awesome minisodes, and even more celebrities, entrepreneurs, CEOs, you name it, we got it. Make Thrive Loud your ultimate podcast destination all summer long. We promise you will not be disappointed. And stay tuned for new and exciting things coming soon to Thrive Loud.
Get ready to Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. Today on Thrive Loud, we bring you a serial entrepreneur. And this individual has successfully initiated, built, scaled, acquired, merged, and exited multiple companies over the last 15 years. He is currently the CEO of Lannister Holdings, a company that is developing a revolutionary way to transact real estate finance. Thrive Loud listeners, Joe Snyder. Joe, how are you today?
Awesome. Great to meet you. Great to be here. I'm a fan of the show. Thank you so much for having me on, and just excited to hang out with you this afternoon.
So it's going to be a lot of fun, Joe. And I reiterate, first of all, you're in Arizona, which I'm already jealous of. I'm over here in the East Coast, just outside the New York City area. And I had just been out in Arizona not too long ago, a few weeks back. And man, do you guys have it good. Weather's great. People are nice. Everyone's in yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would be a little harder that time of year. Well, you could come visit us, and it's pretty humid over here too. I guess July's tough everywhere, but we get it. And so let's go into this because this is neat. A lot of the people who know me, I actually worked in Wall Street for a long time and very familiar. I worked in the fixed income products and dealt with a lot of mortgage related products and very familiar with all the ins and outs of the real estate business. And I'm always interested to hear new things that are taking place and new changes that are out there. And as I understand it, your company has something really cool and really unique. So if you could, since you do have a lot of entrepreneurial stories, I'd love to hear a little bit of your history and how you got to where you are. The Thrive Loud listeners will love this story and get to know a little bit more about your organization. That sound like a plan?
Absolutely. That sounds like a great plan. And so to start with the story of how I got here, and then we can, if you like, we can kind of delve into the technologies and the use cases and the vision that we have for those things as far as Lannister goes. But yeah, I've been a serial entrepreneur since I was about 9 years old. I started by, of all things, crafting and making and selling potpourri roses.
Okay.
I was at my sister's wedding. I was like 9 or 10, and they had these bouquets, these displays on the tables as weddings and events do. And they had potpourri roses in them and all the guests were just clamoring over them. And everybody wanted the centerpieces. And I thought, wow, that's kind of a silly thing. And it looked like there was a lot of demand. And so I took a couple of them home and I took them apart. Anyway, long story short, took them apart, figured out how to make them, and started manufacturing them myself, broke down my cost, broke down the cost of the lace and the potpourri and the florist stem and the florist tape and all this kind of stuff. And I ended up making $7,000 or $8,000 over like 2 summers.
Oh my goodness. That's awesome.
Free roses. And that stuck, that stuck with me from the time I was a little kid of, there is a way, if you can identify a demand and you can build a way to deliver on that demand that has a profit built into it, that you can be very successful. And
very true.
So I took that with me. And I didn't go to formal education. I went into the car business, just at 18, 19 years old. And I've had a lot of questions about that over my career. And I've done a lot of different things. We've bought companies, we've built companies, we've merged some companies. And the question that I get about that is like, well, do you feel like maybe you missed out on something? Or do you feel like maybe you didn't have some key tools that you might have needed? And the interesting thing is that in the car business specifically, as opposed to maybe real estate or finance or something like that, you're closing transactions on a very continual basis, right? A good car salesman has to sell 15, 20, 30 cars a month in order to make a good living. And so I got this very interesting experience in identifying needs, listening to the customer, and closing deals at a very rapid pace. As a real estate agent, you might close 4 or 5 deals a year, but I was closing 25, 30 car deals a month.
Wow.
And so I was able to come out of that and transition into real estate investment in like 2002, 2003, which was a really good thing to do at 2003.
Right.
And so we had a lot of fun in my early 20s into my late 20s. We built a very successful real estate investment company. We had a lot of finance going on, and we had an absolute blast. And of course, just like everybody else, 2007, 2008 comes along. It's been half a decade of, gravy train, and reality check comes in. Market crashes, everything stops. I mean, we went from, you talk about going from 0 to 1. This was going from 100 to 0 to 0.
Yeah, exactly.
That was probably, I went bankrupt in 2008. And I say that a lot, because everybody has this idea that like success is a perennial thing that you do and then it's done. And that's so not the case, and that was I call it the world's most expensive PhD.
I like it. That's a good way to describe it. Good lesson.
But without that lesson, I can't be the entrepreneur and the man and the leader and the father and the husband that I am today, because I wasn't humble and I wasn't connected. I was striving for financial gain blindly, and achieving without a moral compass. Not like I was doing anything disingenuous or wrong or anything like that. If I look back at myself at those times, we were hyper financially successful, compared to what most people make in a lifetime. Been there, done that. And we had a lot of fun. I mean, you give a 25-year-old any tens of millions of dollars, they're going to have a good time. But it wasn't sustainable, and it wasn't mindful, and it wasn't balanced. And what I got out of that experience was a really key desire to go forward with scale, with vision, with deployed power, but also with mindfulness that, we're doing this for our family. We're doing this for our employees' families. We are building these things in order to sustain and provide a balanced and healthy and mindful lifestyle for all of the parties involved.
Okay, I like it. So you've made a shift in the what you wanted to do, and you've now come up with something that's a little bit different. So talk about, I guess, the problem that you saw in the space and the way that you approached how you figured you could change the way it was being done or being dealt with.
Sure. So the problem that we identify in the space, and I'm going to specifically talk about real estate finance here as a vertical for a second, and then we'll come into Lannister and talk about the other things that we do. But the problem that we see in the space is very, very simple. We are looking at spaces that we have deep experience in, deep personal experience in. I've personally funded hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars of first lien mortgages that I loaned and took notes and deeds of trust back against, right? So I've done loan finance out of my own pocket, my own money. I've done loan servicing, collecting payments, foreclosing on properties, doing all the things that come around that. And inside of those systems, there are these massive swaths of archaic, pen and paper even, but archaic, redundant, humanized pieces of these systems that have massive cost bases and massive risk overhangs. A great example of that is Bank of America purchased Countrywide Home Loans after the real estate crash. And they were essentially stuck with all of the legal liabilities from all of the errors and mistakes made in the paperwork trails.
Yep.
Along with all of the actual terrible stuff that was going on over there. But the overhang that could have been mitigated was all of these foreclosing on a house that's not actually in foreclosure, charging fees on a house that fees aren't applied to, giving discounts on loans that shouldn't have been gotten discounts, right? All across the spectrum, you have these interaction points that can end up being broken. And so we are looking at blockchain technology, which is something that luckily for us, we know how to build. We know how to deploy. We understand how it works. We have core competencies there that we've built up over time. And looking at how deploying blockchain to solve these pieces of the problem and to build the tools and the systems for how these transactions can be done on a secure, decentralized ledger instead of being done on a manual transfer paper and pen process.
I like this.
Is phenomenally powerful.
Right, because you have the visibility and the transparency through blockchain to see all the different steps that things have moved through. So from point A of the loan origination to signing and closing of the deal, you actually have a true pass-through, for lack of a better word, view into all of this through blockchain. Is that correct?
That's exactly correct. And I'll take it one step further than that. If you look at the average U.S. mortgage, right, mortgages are 30 years, are an average of 30 years. They're normally kept 5 to 6 years. People refi, they sell, they move, whatever. But the average loan is roughly 5 to 6 years long. In that lifetime of that loan, it normally gets sold 3 to 4 to 5 times between back-end parties, right? So the people who are originating a loan and funding it are not necessarily the people that are then servicing the loan or collecting payments on it. Potentially, it's even being bundled into an entire package of loans and then sold out as mortgage-backed securities additionally. So you have all of these cost pieces on the back end. You have all of these risk blocks and these expense blocks on the back end of loan operations, where the loans already exist. They're already sitting there. And now they have to be transferred. Now they have to be moved from lender A to lender B to lender C to lender D. And they have to be moved from servicing company A to servicing company B. All of those interaction points have failure points.
Right.
And so we're really looking at building, deploying in the real world, protecting with intellectual property, and then going forward and licensing to other financial institutions and organizations the blockchain tools for how to do these pieces of the process, how to integrate them, and how to reduce back-end cost basis and reduce the risk overhang.
So this is pretty cool, Joe. I've got 2 questions, actually 3, because my mortgage brain just flipped on as we were talking here. So the first one is, give me the target of who would be utilizing this technology across the country. What stage of the is it an originator or is it someone else, a bank maybe? Sure.
So one of our initially, we believe that the use case of this technology is for us as a capital company. So we have Lannister Capital as a subsidiary of Lannister Holdings. And our plan with Lannister Capital is actually to originate and fund and service our own sets of loans to experienced real estate investors as a subset target vertical, and to deploy these technologies within our own operating systems in real time in the real world. With that being said, the overall idea and vision is to build and deploy these tools to acquire, register, and own the intellectual property on how these tools work, and then to license those technologies to the large financial institutions moving forward.
Oh, very cool. So I'm realizing, man, if we come a long day in the early 90s, I used to crack tapes for large financial institutions to try to figure out what loans comprise whole loan and performing and non-performing things. We had to get the tapes from the actual people. Here, you actually have it in the code so that every transaction that's there, you could visually and easily see it. So within this step of it, you're doing more than that just at Lannister, right? So you're doing other traditional real estate pieces, but this is the technology that you're using as kind of its mainstay. Correct?
Different than that. A little bit different than
okay.
that. So what we're doing at Lannister is we have Lannister Development, which is our client-facing front-end, full-scope blockchain development company. And so Lannister Development is a subsidiary, and Lannister Capital is a subsidiary. Lannister Capital is going to be focused on providing networking and funding loans to real estate investors, improving those real estate-specific vertical technologies. Lannister Development, we are working with companies in oil and gas, logistics, healthcare, fintech, et cetera, to build and deploy and identify use cases for blockchain technology in existing companies and in the use cases that companies are looking for. So we are offering our expertise and our knowledge and our development teams for hire to build additional blockchain technologies for other companies as well.
Great. Love it. And by the way, great smart use for a base case and a great product. And obviously, there's more and more use of, it's interesting. There's a buzzword of blockchain where things make sense, and there's certain industries where it's perfect, and there are other ones where they're not. This one makes real smart sense, and I could see the ones that you're tapping into. The expertise that you have in this, what businesses fit and which ones don't. And that's a nice advantage to have had over your years of entrepreneurial experience. What's making you most excited about this company? Is it the speed that things are growing, or just how much value you're bringing to the market?
What I'm most excited about is the openness that we've encountered. As somebody who comes out of real estate, which is hyper competitive, risk management, which is hyper competitive, and coming into a space where we really are attacking a very true blue ocean space. And we have all of these in engagements. We have all of these meetings with amazing companies and amazing people, even our direct competitors, other companies that are doing for-hire blockchain development, or a company like Propy that is doing, real estate property title transactions on blockchain. And we're able to sit down with these people very openly, very, communally, and engage with them and say, what are you doing? Here's what we're doing. What are you thinking about this? And then we're referring people to them, and they're referring people to us. And that openness has just been a total breath of fresh air. And I realize that is maybe a little bit of a short-lived reality, right? As a vertical matures, it gets entrenched players, and they get, their walls up and things like that. But at this moment, it is very, very open. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing to experience. It's really cool.
So having done, and I give you credit, you've had a lot of entrepreneurial experiences in ups and downs. And by the way, you can't succeed without having the ups and the downs. You need to see both to gain that perspective. I totally agree.
I'd like to stop doing that, but it seems to be the thing.
Well, so with this uniqueness as an entrepreneur yourself, and having really been a self-made guy since you were 9 years old, I've got a question. This is something I ask all the Thrive Loud guests. When you have trouble thriving, who do you turn to get back on the thriving track?
First and foremost, my CTO. Chris Brown is an incredible individual. He's incredibly talented, and he is the yin to my yang. We have that. He is analytical and detailed and quiet and particular, and I am loud and verbose and shoot from the hip a lot of times. And so I do. I rely on our team a lot. I would say, there's a space in my life that is my dogs and my goats also. So if I'm going to go non-human on it, I've got we've got a pygmy goat and a dwarf goat. So we have two goats, and then we have two huskies. And I've got some property up in the mountains in California where we actually live, and we're based out of Phoenix. And I'm in Phoenix at the moment. I'm sitting here, but to reconnect and bring that vibe back down to a balanced and happy level. On a human level, I use our team exponentially. I rely on them. On a non-human level, there's nothing better than just kind of poking around my garden with my huskies and letting the goats play. And, there's definitely a Zen quality to that.
Joe, I want to thank you because, we've done over 150 episodes of Thrive Loud, And I'm listening to this saying, this is the first time we've ever hit that goats were what people turn to when they have trouble thriving. And I don't think I'll ever look at a goat ever the same. So thank you. Joe I get enlightened by every guest. This is a new way.
Something from every engagement. And that's thriving, right? And that I think is probably the key differential that I would go from who is Joe in 2006 to who is Joe in 2018. And that's only a 12-year differential. But I wasn't thriving. I wasn't vibrantly and passionately engaged in the parts of life that are life. And now I'm we have Nina Manning as our performance coach for the company. She was one of the first employees that we had. And, those pieces of making sure that we are thriving and we are passionate, we are balanced, and that the team is supported and focused. We have an awesome team member, and he was just a little off his game last week. He was just, having a bad day or whatever was going on. And I reached out to a couple of the other team members and had them check in on him. And that comes back around. They just go, wow, I didn't know that kind of support was there when I'm just having a bad day. And, that's thriving. That's getting people together and saying, we're going to go on a grand adventure, and we're going to do it mindfully. We're going to do it consciously. It's going to have a massive cost. We're all going to work 80, 90 hours a week, and it's going to be crazy, and we're going to be totally out of balance for a little while. But we're going to thrive while we're doing it, and we're going to arrive while we're doing it, and be present. And it's a beautiful thing, man.
I like it. So, Joe, give me a little short-term goal for what you're looking for most successfully for Lannister in the near future, and maybe a BHAG, if you will, a big, hairy, audacious goal that you're thinking about for the company or for yourself.
Short-term goal is we have done a reverse merger to be public on the U.S. OTC stock exchange. So we are a publicly traded company. We're traded under the ticker symbol NBDR, Nancy Bravo Delta Robert, on the OTC market. Currently, the company that I acquired didn't have all of its financials in order and things like that. And so our short-term goal is to finish those financials, get them registered with the OTC, get them submitted to the SEC, and get ourselves, current as a public company. And that's a very short-term goal, as in, right away, finishing that up. So that's a short-term goal. The big grand overall goal for Lannister is to build a scaled, balanced, fulfillment-focused, highly profitable development and intellectual property company. Our goal is to build a multi-billion-dollar technology firm. There's no beat around the bush on that. That's the overall goal. But in order to do that in a way that allows the staff and allows the employees and allows the stakeholders to really enjoy the process and love what we're doing, we have to do it in a very mindful way, and we have to do it with an eye on the needs of the various stakeholders and fulfilling those needs on a continual basis. And I think we've got a good baseline for that.
I like it. It sounds awesome. Joe, give me all the places. Let's get this out of the way first. All the places where we can learn more about Lannister Holdings and any other things that are coming up 2018 that we need to be aware of. Just all the socials, the websites, everything, so people know where to find the company and you.
Absolutely. So you can find me personally on Twitter at Lannister CEO. Lannister is on Twitter as well at Lannister NBDR. Our main website is LannisterHoldings.com. We are currently finishing up LannisterDevelopment.com, which will be the client-facing software development, blockchain software development side. And you can reach us on any one of those mediums. We are on Facebook at Lannister Holdings, Instagram, Lannister HOLD. So all of those places we can be reached. If you have a company, if you have a business, if you're in finance or insurance or any logistics, and you have some interest in blockchain, there's been some discussions in your boardroom about blockchain, and you guys are saying, well, I don't know who's qualified, who does this well, and everything else. We are a bespoke US-based blockchain development full stack firm, and we are currently interviewing and accepting new clients right now for blockchain development services on top of our internal platform.
Great stuff. I like this. And we will put all the links and everything on the show notes so that everyone can find it and learn more about it. And obviously, as the master connector here, I have to already got some ideas of where we can head and connect you to. So by the time this airs, you're already going to be doing business with them, is what I have a feeling. So with that, this entrepreneurial spirit that you have in this great company and this nice up and down in your career and recognizing how to launch to the next level, Joe Snyder, we love to find out what really inspires people when they turn their brains off and in some cases turn their minds on to watching movies. Joe Snyder, what is your all-time favorite movie?
Shawshank Redemption.
That was as quick as it can go. Okay, what is your favorite part about the movie and why does it connect so much with you?
My favorite part about the movie is a man absolutely drilling into, quite literally, the barriers in his life in total, quiet, mastery, focused determination, and coming out with the end result that he was shooting for.
Yeah, it's true. There's a part in that. There's a line from Andy Dufresne in the movie that always gets me towards the very end, where he recognized he may not have killed his wife and was wrongly accused, but the way that he had treated her and the way he had been acting, he really had killed that marriage long before the incident had taken place. And it was a really great self-realization within it in a very, very challenging environment. But also, I think the sense of redemption is what most people love about that movie. And it's definitely in our top 5 of all the listeners, and they listen to it. And
I was hoping to not be so cliche.
No. It's. I mean, look. Like I think Godfather might hold the title forever because it's a knee-jerk reaction for anybody born from like 1960 to 1975. But and anyone else, I find that this has become the more modern one, and I think. As somebody who here uses his voice for a living on this podcast show and speaking, to know that Morgan Freeman is what you hear all the time when you listen to it. It's like silk. What did they say in the movie Ted 2? They go, your voice sounds like silk. Gotta love Morgan Freeman. Anyway, go ahead, John. It's so true. Joe Snyder, this has been fun and very educational. I love when people are taking new technologies and putting it into something that they knew best and to something that actually makes sense. So kudos to you and best of luck to Lannister. And I'm sure we will be hearing a lot more about it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us, Lou. I really, really appreciate your time and your amazing show. Thank you again. And anything at all that I can ever do for you in the future, know that my door is wide open. I'm always here to help.
Always a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for coming on. And to all the Thrive Loud listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. And follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Thrive Loud. Or find us on the web at thriveloud.com.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you an important announcement. Thrive Loud is officially the best podcast ever. And Lou Diamond is still bald. That is all.